Hello everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Today we will be covering 10 challenging questions relevant to the entire exam content outline. So let me just share my screen and then we will start. All right, I hope you could see my screen. So let's start question number 1. All right, so Gagan, you have chosen option B.
Yes, Amar, option B, because I have read some questions in practice questions also that they assign some monetary value to story points, and according to that, they track the performance. And as well as when sponsor is specifically asking them that he needs an integrated earned value management uh, performance related. So that's why I chose B.
All right. But Gagan, it's not always if sponsor requests something, we just do that. So we'll do some sort of analysis. We'll see if that is possible. We'll see if that is relevant to the project, if that is useful for the project. So we take all of these consideration and then we make a decision. So maybe your answer is right, but not just because sponsor has requested something. So we will be directly doing that. So yes, maybe we will be doing that, but with some sort of analysis.
Yeah, I was like considering both of the aspects, like one sponsor and another one is like I saw some questions with monetary values to pointed to story points. So that was another aspect. So mixing those also, I took the B.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Lala, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I thought in Scrum we actually use in Agile we use the velocity and burnout chart for performance measurements. So that's why I picked C.
All right. That's great. But what will you do with sponsor's request? The sponsor requires detailed performance metrics by integrating earned value.
Okay.
Will you be just ignoring that or what? Or you will be saying, okay, we have an alternative. What?
Well, I will explain it to him that the better would be to use the velocity burnout chart for performance measurements. You know, well, it doesn't say in the answer, so yeah, it could be wrong, I guess. See.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Vivek, you have chosen option B.
Yes, Samar. So as you mentioned, if we analyze and we can decide what approach to be taken, but the option A is directly coming to the conclusion that we are avoiding it, whether it's like without doing any analysis. So that option is irrelevant. And like C is again, it's not fulfilling the ask here. So the EVM is being asked by the client, but that's not like fulfilled by this only performance measurement using Agile Matrix. And doing the EVM at the end of the project does not give any, so it will be direct conclusion. So overall performance feedback and there is a chance of improvement that everything is not achievable using option B. So relevant option is option B, that assign a monetary value.
All right, thank you, Vivek. So yes, correct answer is option B, assign monetary value to story points and track performance indices in each sprint. Okay. One of the confusions is that since earned value analysis is based on the concept of planned value, so it is difficult to use this approach in Agile because in Agile, things or scope is uncertain, it changes, so it is difficult to calculate planned value. Yes, it is difficult for the entire project, but you can do for one sprint. So you can go sprint by sprint, right? So you can assign monetary value to story points to see how many story points are planned in terms of monetary value and how many story points are completed in terms of monetary value. And then you can calculate variance. So it's not something that is not doable. We can do that and we can present progress by using earned value analysis, even if we are using agile methodology. So correct answer is option B, that directly addresses the sponsor's concern. Avoid using EM as it is incompatible with agile methodology. I have just explained it. We can do that. So it's not entirely incompatible. Use agile metrics like velocity and burn charts. Yes, you can use that, but you're not addressing the concerns here. You're not addressing the request with option C. Apply EVM at the end of the project. So why only at the end of the project? Why not in the middle? Why not throughout the project? And what's the benefit of using it at the end of the project? So this does not address the problem. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation.
Yes, Amar.
Yes, Amar.
Okay, right. Next question. All right. Vivek, you have chosen option A.
So with option A, the nature of work, we can decide if it is repetitive work, then waterfall is a suitable model. If there are changing requirements always, then there could be agile, but uh, that something is not mentioned here, and the other 3 points are not actually addressing the concern here. So level of stakeholder involvement doesn't actually give us what method to be used, or level of scope definition and complexity also doesn't drive to any conclusion for the what method to be used. It's nature of the work that will a deciding factor for what kind of methodology to be used.
All right. Vivek, what's wrong with option C?
So even scope definition, sorry, I'm confused now. So I think A and C both are no looks correct, but
All right, all right. Thank you for detailed explanation because you mentioned changing requirements. You said it is dependent on changing requirements. So that's why I asked maybe option C is relevant because that addresses the change in scope or level of scope definition. But maybe option A is correct. Thank you for
Sure.
detailed explanation. Okay, one thing just to give you clarity here for everybody. Nature of work means we categorize work into two categories. Knowledge work and industrial work. If you recall, we had detailed discussion about it. And industrial work is definable work, knowledge work is uncertain work. For industrial work, normally we use waterfall most of the time. And for knowledge work, we use agile. So nature of work does not mean if it is repetitive or you're doing for the first time. Nature of work means if it is knowledge work or if it is industrial work, just in response to Vivek's comment. All right, great. Robin, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I considered each of these, and I thought that each option has got a certain amount or a certain level of input that that was good. But the complexity and size of the project is probably the most key factors that need to be assessed to assess what approach we use.
All right, thank you. Lala, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of pretty sure on this one, but still. The waterfall, agile, and hybrid approach. So which one we're going to use, it depends on the scope definition. So we have upfront, like high level, scope. Then we would go for like agile. If we kind of have upfront really like clear, refined scope, then we would go for waterfall. So I think it really depends on the level of scope definition to which approach we're going to take here
All
on a
right,
project.
thank you. Whenever any one of you says, I'm pretty sure, I unintentionally smile. Okay, let's see. What's the right answer? Okay, Gagan, you have chosen option C.
Yes, Amar, for the same reason, like scope, when it is not clear, we go for agile, or when it is very clear, we go for waterfall. But after your explanation of nature of work, I feel it can be A also.
All right, thank you so much, everybody, for detailed explanation. So the question is about not all the factors. The question is about what is the single most important factors, right? Single most important factor means what is the most important factors out of all these things which are mentioned. All are right. So nature of work and type of industry is also relevant. Level of stakeholder involvement is equally important. Like if we need more feedback, we will be having shorter feedback cycle. We will be moving towards iterative nature or iterative life cycle. Level of scope definition, very important. Complexity and size of the project is also important. But the single most important thing based on which we define which approach we will be using, it's about the level of scope definitions. Means if scope is uncertain, we will be using agile. It's all about requirements because agile is there to manage uncertainty. If scope is certain or known, then we can do upfront planning. We can develop plans. So when we are able to develop plans, it means that is upfront planning or plan-driven approach or predictive approach that is called waterfall. So the fundamental factors that defines which approach you would be using is what level of scope is defined. If it is uncertain, definitely you can do upfront planning. If you can do upfront planning, it can't be plan driven. If it can't be plan driven, it can't be predictive, then it should be adaptive. So if scope is well defined, it is waterfall. If scope is uncertain, it is agile. The correct answer is option C, level of scope definition. All factors are important, but the most important factors out of all of these that defines which approach you would be using is level of scope, or if your scope is known, if your scope is certain or uncertain. B is correct answer. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. And just to add one more thing to Gagan's point, yes, industry is important, nature of work is important, but we do use agile practices in construction as well. If scope of work in construction work is unknown, that could be done in agile, right? In marketing, as you could see in explanation, like agile can be used in software development, construction, and even marketing campaigns. So correct answer is option C, level of scope definition. All right, next question. So are you able to hear me clearly or not, everybody?
We are losing you in
Amar,
between.
yeah, your voice is cracking again and again.
Okay, so I intentionally sat outside today just to enjoy the weather, but I think it doesn't work. Okay, so
I thought you have applied the background.
sorry, what? No,
Yes,
it's
your
not a
background looks really good.
No, it's not
I
background.
thought it was a background, and
No, it's not a background. I'm just outside of my dorm. It's a nice place to sit. So, okay, let's try one more question. If it works, then we'll continue. Otherwise, I'll go inside. Okay, so next question, please start. All right, Daniela, you have chosen option A and C.
Yeah, I thought that option A is absolutely relevant here. So the project does not align to the organization's strategic goals. We endeavor to start projects to fulfill an organization's strategic goals. So if for whatever reason that's not anymore the case, then that's, I would say, grounds for terminating the project. B, I have worked on most projects. Maybe not significant delays, but they were over budget or both. So that's not good enough to stop it. Compare with all the other options. Option C, project cost, yeah. So I thought that C, it's relevant. So if it costs more than what we think we're gonna get at the end of the project, that's a good candidate for considering terminating the project. Interesting, your question says consider terminating the project, not just terminating it, by the way. The risk factors, exceed plan risk factors, many times on projects, you would get more risks in real life than what you have planned. Again, it's not relevant. Sorry, not that it's not relevant. I thought that's not an option here to just terminate the project. Now, E, I was a bit in two minds. The competitor has launched a similar product. Maybe, but then what if your competitor, yes, has launched a similar product, but it's scrapped their product and your product is the right one? So, no, I didn't choose E. So A and C, sorry if it's too long.
All right, thank you, Daniela. Robin, you have chosen option A and E.
Yes, I agreed with option A, and then the other one took quite a while to decide. But if I was considering terminating the project and there were significant challenges, things weren't going so well, in other words, and we were up against competition that we didn't really anticipate. Then I think A and E would be the first two that I would consider to terminate.
All right, thank you. Okay, Robin, for example, let's talk about option E. A competitor has launched a similar product before you. So yes, for example, if it is an industry where one player can fulfill the demand of the entire industry, that makes sense. Now you don't have any demand, so just terminate that. But there is no indication in the question that if you launch your product, you can't get any market share. So for example, if market is too big, where 10, 50 or 15 or 20 players are required, or more than one players are required, because one player is not capable of meeting the demand, then if the competitor has launched a similar product earlier, that's not a good enough reason for you to terminate your project. So competitor would be fulfilling a chunk of the customer demand. You will be fulfilling the another portion of the customer demand. So you can coexist, you can still work, even if somebody has, uh, launched their product earlier. Yes, they would be getting mover advantage, but it doesn't mean you terminate your project. Robin, does it make
Right.
sense? You understand that?
Yes, no, I get it.
All right, thank you. Okay, Francis, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I've chosen option D because I was leaning towards C and D, but I think some project cost makes it more than forecasted of the benefits because, for instance, like the government projects, they tend to fall into that category whereby government just spend more money just to cover a project, which is not worth what they're spending. So that's why I chose option D instead of C. So yeah, sometimes we have more risk. Whenever it's too risky, depending on the nature of the risk, we may actually hold the project.
All right. Okay, Francis. So, for example, what is overall risk factor? When we say the project overall risk factor, it would be some cost element, like in terms of monetary terms or time delay term, right? So, for example, what would be the overall risk factor? Let's say $100,000. Like that's the maximum risk we can afford. Francis,
Okay.
does it make sense? You understand the concept of overall risk factor? Means
Absolutely.
the combined effect of all the risks. That is called overall risk factor. So let's suppose we say our overall risk factor is $100,000. Means when project uncertainty exceeds $100,000, right? Then we will be terminating the project. So this is uncertainty. Things haven't happened yet because it's risk factor. Risk factor means
Yes.
it's uncertain yet. But on the other hand, what's happening in C, cost is actually exceeding. One is future forecast, one is actual thing. You understand the difference? So C tells you the current situation, the project cost exceeds, like this event has already occurred. D, overall risk factor exceeds planned risk factor. So you planned, okay, $100,000, but it looks like you will end up completing the project with additional $120,000. You are uncertain about D, but C has already happened. So the weightage, more weight would go to option C rather than option D. Francis, you understand this or not?
Yeah, I think I'm getting the point. I was a little confused, like making this a second choice, but I think with your explanation, it does make sense.
Yes, because in one situation, it's clear whatever the cost is, it has exceeds the benefits. So project is no more viable financially, or if you take tangible or intangible benefits into consideration. So D is future uncertainty, which has not happened yet. So if it has not happened yet, that's just based on uncertainty, you cannot terminate the project. Okay. So correct answer is option A and C. The project no longer aligns with the organization's strategic objective. It's clear. All of you, most of you have answered A. That's correct. If there is misalignment between organization strategic objective and project, then there is no need to continue with the current project. Like either you need to terminate it or you need to plan a pivot. So A is correct answer. The project is experiencing significant delays and is over. This is a normal situation, as Daniela mentioned. Most of the projects are over budget and behind schedule. The project cost exceeds forecasted benefits. Yes, when benefits of the project are less than the cost, it doesn't make economic sense. So we should not continue that project. Overall risk factor exceeds. Yes, it's a good indication. It's a good trigger point, but not the ultimate factor that prompts you to consider termination. A competitor has launched a similar product. I have already explained it. Even if the competitor has launched a product, yes, they will be getting some advantage, but it doesn't mean you should close your project. So correct answer is A and C. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right. So Vivek, you have chosen option A.
Yes. So I was thinking like option B and C, like it's kind of a reactive approach when we are not finding any solution, that we are going to discuss with program manager or to talk to functional manager regarding the resources. And justification is kind of, everyone has their own priorities, so justification will not work here because all the projects are equally important to the organization. So implementing the resource smoothing and resource delivery, like utilization of resources in correct optimized manner, will the first solution to implement here. That's why I chose an option here.
All right, thank you. Kokila, you have chosen option B.
Because there's a conflict with another related project. So just to see if we can get more resources, or we need to do, we don't get more resources, then we can pick the option A. But so program manager will have, I'm not sure, maybe have the power to, or sponsor, or to have had more resources.
All right, thank you. Kokila, what's wrong with option A?
Implement resource smoothing and resource leveling. Yeah, that's an option too, but I'm not sure if it's an agile or.
All right, okay. Even if it is agile or waterfall, it doesn't make any difference, right? So if it is agile or waterfall, it would be the same situation. All right, thank you. Leila, you have chosen option C.
So I was between C and B actually. So implement resource leveling or smoothing would not help here, would not solve the problem. So I eliminated A because the two projects has a conflict with the resources. So I was not sure if the resources, I think it's actually managed by functional manager, all the resources. So I would seek an advice from him and then explain it to him that justify my priority based on like that my project needs this resources if I can, have these resources. And the program manager, he sees all the projects, right? So I was not sure which one you go to, but I know that you have to go to one and kind of say that you have a conflict at this. So I was I went with C though. I thought the functional manager would be responsible for all the resources, and I would explain it to him that my project is high priority, that I needed to get done. Justifying, who would you justify for? Justify the priority of your project. Who? I mean, it's not a clear answer. It doesn't solve my issue here.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Okay. Jashri, you have chosen option B.
Yes, Samar. So of all the options, I think option A, implementing resource smoothing or leveling, is within a project only. And while comparing or having a resource conflict, this might not apply. Comparing two different projects under a program. And option C, seeking advice from functional manager. Functional manager will be able to explain about his own project and not when there is a resource, there is already a conflict, right? So there's no point in going back to the functional manager again. And justifying the priority of your project is should have already been done, because post that only the resource conflict might have arisen. So discussing the issue with the program manager, having the conflict in place already. So overall level, which project is viable or profitable should be analyzed by the program manager.
All right, thank you. So yes, correct answer is discuss the issue with the program manager. Why? Because your project is a part of a program. And one of the responsibilities of program managers is to manage shared resources, right? So whenever there is a conflict, resource conflict with another related project that is part of the program, it's the program manager's job to handle that situation. Functional manager doesn't deal with that because it's the program manager's responsibility. Resource smoothing and leveling, it works within a project, and justify the priority of your project. It's a vague statement, as Laila mentioned. So correct answer is option B. All other options are incorrect. Laila, you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to ask you, can you give like what is the difference between functional and program manager? I know program manager sees all the projects, right, within the portfolio, but what
Yeah.
is the difference between them, like the functional manager and program manager?
Yeah, functional manager is head of any department. So chief financial officer is a functional manager. Chief human resources officer is a functional manager. Chief design officer is a functional manager. So all of these are functional managers.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So B is correct option. Let's read the
Amar,
explanation. Gagan, quickly, if you have.
yeah, Amar,
wanna
I
say
just
something?
wanted to ask, yeah, just for the functional manager, like I chose functional manager because functional managers are responsible for giving the resources to the projects. So why we won't go to first from functional manager and then program manager?
Because it's the program manager's responsibility to handle disputes within the project. So program manager is your boss. So first you need to talk to your boss and discuss with and to handle the situation internally. If there is no option, then you would go to the functional manager to ask for more resources. So first you need to handle it internally. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next question. All right. Vivek, you have chosen option A.
Yes, Samar, but I think and after that I realized that it's wrong. So I'm changing my option to option B. That's it's a plan do. Then so by doing it, we are just like trying to experiment in a small scale and then actually implementing at the last. So act is the option when we actually taking the action. So I'm changing the option to B.
All right, thank you. Jashri, you have chosen option D.
Summer, I think PDSA or PDCA is what I remember vaguely. I'm sure. Like plan, do, check, and act. Right? I remember. And because I don't understand what PDSA means. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not getting the word for this. And with this, I believe that developing a prototype for testing purposes is the more suitable answer out of the four. And taking action after agreeing an improvement plan, I don't think it's specific to any improvement plan this PDESA model is implemented.
All right, so Jashri, PDCA or PDSA model are same thing. Plan, do, check, act, or plan, do, study, act. It's the same thing, right? Check or
Okay.
study, it's the same thing. There is no difference. All right, thank you for detailed explanation. Okay. Daniela, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, but I believe it's wrong. I believe correct, it's D. Sorry, I was just reading through what each of the plan, do, check, and act mean in terms of the PDSA model. I think the most appropriate is D, because do, according to the definition, means test the change, carry out a small scale study. So D is the most appropriate. So I answer incorrectly first, A.
So what is your answer?
Oh, sorry. I thought I put it there. My initial answer was A, but that's incorrect. My answer is D.
D for dog, right?
Correct. Developing a prototype for testing. Since the plan, do, check, act model in the do step means test the change, carry out a small scale study.
So what is B, Daniela?
Experimentation at a small scale. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I missed that. Test action based on what? Okay, test the change. Oh God.
All right. Okay. Thank you for
I
detailed
don't know.
explanation.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. So correct answer is option B. Edward Deming's Kaizen's loop has 4 steps: plan, do, check, and act, right? So for example, if I explain it for you, something like that. So we have first step, plan step, where we plan a change. Second step is do act, where we implement the change at small scale to see the results. Third step is check step or study, where we analyze the results of our experiment. And then last one is act. If results are favorable, then we implement at organization-wide, at large scale. If results are not favorable, we go back and we adjust our plan. This is Edward Deming's PDCA or PDSA model, right? So do step is experimentation, right? Implementing the change at small scale to study the results to see if it is practical or if it is valuable or not. So correct answer here is option B, experimentation at a small scale, right? Next, let's read the explanation, then we'll have next question.
Uh, how is this different from the D? But there also we are making small changes, right? Small prototype, a small change, then show it to the customer, and then again come back.
Yeah, prototyping is different thing. Prototype is, you develop something, you seek input. So prototype is the basic version that you develop to seek more clarity about requirements. So plan, do, check, act, we are not seeking clarity about requirements. We are testing our solution, right? So D is different. D is to seek more clarity about the product. And experimentation is more to see if your results are effective or positive or not, or if whatever you want to achieve, you would be able to achieve or not. So both are entirely different. The purpose is different. Shri, is it clear?
Yeah, that's for me. I don't know why I feel they're very close, and probably I need to look into it. But yeah, they're a bit confusing to me.
Yes, they are close. One is developing a prototype to seek further feedback about product features. Second means B, you develop a plan, and before you implement it at the organization level, you do an experiment. You implement the change at small scale to see if it is effective or not. So both are entirely different. The purpose is different.
Right. So are we saying the prototype is small, but the experimentation it is like overall we are developing and then seeing at trying to implement it at a small scale and then see it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is correct. You develop a comprehensive plan. So before implementing your comprehensive plan at organization-wide, you implement it at a small scale to see if it is effective or not. If it is useful, then you implement the same plan at organization-wide. So you don't replan, you don't change it, right? Until you implement at the organization-wide. So prototype is different. You develop it at a small basic version of the product. You show it to customer to seek feedback. So the purpose of these two techniques is different. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, really confusing.
All right. Next question. All right, Manmeet, could you please explain your answers?
I only gave one answer, which is C, enhancement, and I'm still wrapping my head around for that. For C, I believe why I picked 4 because we're adding more skilled personnel to increase the probability of completing the critical task early. That is an enhancement because we're adding a skill there, like skilled personnel. So that's why I picked C for 4th option.
All right, thank you. Gagan, could you please explain your answers?
Yes, Amar. So for first, I was not sure, so I just chose it at last. For second, you cut the project scope to ensure safety from high regulatory risks. So I am avoiding this risk to cut the scope, so that's why D. So for third, you purchase insurance to cover the potential damages. This is transference because I'm transferring the risk to another party, which is an insurance company. Then you add more skilled person to increase the probability of completing a task. So I'm exploiting here because I'm adding some more value in my project to get that task to be completed early to get some benefits. So this is a positive risk. Fifth is you add a risk to watch list for continuous monitoring. I'm not planning anything for this, so that is why it is passive acceptance. And the last one is you set aside a contingency reserve to handle potential cost overruns. I'm reserving some amount for this risk, so I'm actively accepting this. So last was left for the enhancement, so I matched it with first.
All right, thank you so much for detailed explanation. So let's talk about it. Transference. So you cut the project scope to ensure safety from the regulatory risk. This is avoidance, that is correct. You purchase insurance to cover the potential damages. It is transference, that is correct. You add more skilled personnel to increase the probability. So increase is enhancement. So something that is already there and you increase the chances of success, that is called enhancement, enhancing the chances of success. So it's not exploitation. Exploitation is if something is not there and you create that, that is exploitation. So you are investing in AI training to seek AI-based government projects. So AI skill is not there, right? So you're investing in AI training to seek AI-based government projects. So you don't have any government project right now, but you are developing a skill so that you get these projects in future. So this is exploitation. So apart from this, all of your explanation is correct. So first one is exploitation, second one is avoidance, third one is transference, fourth one, adding more skills in it is enhancement. Add a risk to the watch list means you're passively accepting. So this is passive acceptance, and the last one is active acceptance. I hope it is clear to everybody. If not, you can ask. So let's review the answers. Take a look, then we'll move to next question. All right, next question. All right. Lala, you have chosen option D.
So in Agile, we don't, option A, we don't have a detailed upfront requirements. So I crossed it out. By using a fixed price contract to avoid budget overruns, how are we gonna have a fixed price in a contract if we have so many unknowns, right? There's so many changes. So that would not be, that eliminated as well. Using a time and material contract would not exceed to limit. So I was not sure what this, how that material kind of threw me out, the material on the question. So I went by negotiating a cost reimbursable contract to cover all the possible changes, since there's so many changes in agile projects. So I thought this would be best options.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Francis, you have chosen option C.
I've chosen option C because I think in Agile, since we don't have a predefined scope, using time and management, I think as we go with the iterative approach, it make more sense to me without exceeding the limit, the certain limit that the customer is willing to pay.
All right. What's the difference between C and D, Francis?
The difference between the C and D, I think I don't understand D why we have to negotiate reimbursement. I think I don't get that quite well. I think I'm not sure.
All right.
Yes.
Robin, could you please explain why option C, why not option D?
Option C gives a cover over the contract. Option D would leave it too open. There'd be too much suspicion because there's no cap attached to the limit in the contract. So option C would be the most sort of user-friendly.
Absolutely.
it like
So
that.
correct answer is option C. Why? Because there is uncertainty about the scope. And if you keep on incorporating the changing scope without any limit, then project would never stop. You'll continue doing that. So when requirements are not clear, what you do, you set a limit, like this is the maximum amount that we will be spending on this product, and whatever we could do within this budget, we will be doing that. So we will be managing changing within this budget. So you use a time and material contract. So what is time-based contract? Time-based contract is you pay for actual time spent by the developers. So for example, you agree on a per hour rate. You say, okay, we will be paying $200 per hour. And at the end, you see how many hours they spent. So you multiply hours with the unit rate, per hour rate, and calculate the cost. However, that cost should not exceed the maximum limit. Otherwise, you will keep on doing that and there is no limit to the project. The correct answer is option C. The word material means if it is a physical product, if you are buying any material that you're using in the product, so cost of material would be reimbursed. If you are building a software or something like that, so it would be cost of subscription, cost of services. If you buy any software to develop something, if you pay a fee to use any platform, so that is cost of time and material. So whatever time developer are spending, you're paying for that, and whatever material they are using in terms of tangible material or in terms of services or subscriptions, you will have to pay for that. So time and material contract, you're paying for the time and you're paying for the material as well, with a not to exceed limit. Like this is the maximum limit. Anything beyond that we won't be doing. Correct answer is option C. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Vivek, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I think Pareto chart and Fishbone are like almost similar where we are finding the root cause for the problem. So that's relevant. I'm not very much sure about the control charts, don't remember that. But the scatter plot is something we found areas where we actually have the issues, like reoccurring issues. So that area we can monitor or try to minimize the defect in that particular area within the scatter plot.
All right, thank you. Francis, you have chosen option B.
I've chosen option B because a fishbone diagram shows explicitly like every single step. You show like where the problem might arise. As a result, you may be to mitigate or minimize the defects of the product by it kind of set like he explicitly shows like the actual picture of as you go.
All right, thank you. Gagan, you have chosen option A.
Yes, Amar, because Pareto chart, my understanding, it shows various kind of defects in a particular product, and it also aligns them in the frequency of happening. If what is happening very much, that will be shown first, and then second, third. So that's why from this they will understand what are the important areas to minimize defects.
All right, absolutely. Correct answer is option A, Pareto chart. What is Pareto chart? So Pareto chart is something like this. It's a modified version of histogram. And what is histogram? Histogram plots history of defects. So for example, this is, let's suppose, type A defect. This is type B defect. This is type C defect. This is frequency of type D. This is frequency of type E. Means, what does it mean? This is 50, this is 100, means all the samples that you selected, A type of defects are occurred roughly 80 in number. So 80 are type A, let's suppose 65 are type B, 50 are type C, 35, and then 15. Now, from Pareto chart, we can see what are the most important areas where we should focus. So it says we should focus here. Like if we handle this and this, most of problem would be solved. So from here, we have a 80-20 rule as well. Like 80% of the impact or effects are because of 20% of causes, right? So if we eliminate these 20% of causes, we will get rid of 80% of the effects. So if we want to see what are the most important areas, the most important areas to minimize defects, so this is Pareto chart, okay? Fishbone diagram tells us all the root causes. So it's something like this. You have fish head and you have these branches. You get all the root causes through these branch-based structure. Scatter plot is a different thing. Scatter plot is developed to substantiate relationship between two variables. So you have variable X, you have variable Y, and you want to see if there is a relationship between two variables. So if points are closer to each other on a scatter plot, it means there is a strong relationship. If points are scattered all over like this, it means there is a weak relationship. So to substantiate relationship between two variables, we develop scatter plot and control charts to see if process is within the limit or outside of the limit. Control charts are different. So they have upper control limit, they have lower control limit. So we plot our samples to see if they are within this tolerance limit or if any of the point is outside of the limit. If points are outside of the limit, we call it out of control process. To study the process, we use control chart. So if I summarize, to see which defects are the most important defects, we will be developing Pareto charts or 80-20 rule. Fishbone diagram is for root cause analysis. Scatter plot is to substantiate relationship between two variables, and control chart to see if the process is within the limit or process is out of control. Correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right. Francis, you have chosen option B.
I went by the process of elimination. I think accepting the suggestion as it is a cost effective, you don't just accept a suggestion from a vendor. You have to run some numbers to make sure that makes sense. So by making an estimate that it can have an impact on the new project, on your new project, the new material can have on a project, I think I went with that. Identifying risk associated with the new product, we don't know if there's a risk. So I don't see that as a risk. So initiate a formal change request. You cannot just initiate again a formal change request without making some analysis to make sure that actually that's material that you need.
All right. Thank you, Francis. So Francis, what you want to do by doing option B? What exactly you want to achieve? You are
So
on
basically
mute.
what I'm doing, I'm making an
Mhm.
estimate.
Mhm.
What is impact? What impact does this new material has on my project in a monetary sense? I think that's why I chose B.
But you have already a detailed analysis on that. So detailed analysis is already with you. What are the things that you want to estimate?
Like, should I just believe every analysis done by a vendor? Should not be the point of interest?
Yeah, you
We
can verify that. You can see that,
exactly. Yeah.
right? But what's the point of estimating the impact of the new material on product cost? You already have that.
Oh, okay. I think that's why I missed it.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Gagan, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I changed my answer immediately. Actually, first I chose B, then I just saw that it is only asking for the project cost impact, which is not correct. Identify risk associated with the new material. It means that we are checking the impacts of this material on all the knowledge areas, maybe quality, cost, project scope, and everything. So that's why I chose option C.
Absolutely. So that's the reason option C is correct. The only thing that is wrong with option B is the last word, on project cost. If you remove word cost, then B would be the right answer, right? So cost analysis is already with you. There is no need to do it again, right? So what you will be doing, you will be identifying any other impact or any other risk or uncertainty associated with using new material. You say, okay, from cost perspective, we will be using that. But is there any other uncertainty or any other impact associated with this material? So correct answer is option C, not B. Okay. Option A is incorrect. Accept the suggestion as it is cost effective. No, we don't directly accept that. Option D, initiate a formal change request. Yes, if we find out that there is some substance in the suggestion, then we can initiate a formal change request, right? So we'll do the analysis and see if it is beneficial for the product, then we can raise a change request and get it approved by the change control board and implement it. So correct answer is option C. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation.
Amar, a quick point here before you go. Amar, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
go ahead.
Usually, means what I read and or what I recollect is that first thing means whenever anyone suggests a change, it should a formal change request should be created. Then we do the analysis, and then it goes to means as part of the whole process, analysis is done, and then CCB they approve it, right? So isn't it the right way? Should the manager, project manager, do the analysis first and then create a formal request, change request?
All right. So there is no change here, right? So you receive a detailed report. So it says the vendor submits a detailed analysis on using a cost-effective material that was not part of the original plan. What you should do.
Oh, okay.
So
So that
first of
means
all,
here we are
you
not.
need to read that analysis. What is that? Then based on that, maybe you will be initiating a change.
Oh, okay. I think I misunderstood the question. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
okay. All right. Next question. All right. I thought let's end the session with the easiest question. Okay, Jayashri, you have chosen option A.
Summer, though the work is completed on time and delivers the required deliverables are delivered on time, to maintain the team morality, the punctuality cannot be done away with. So, since they are not punctual and frequently missing the meetings, it might bring down the morale of the other team members also. So, reinforcing the ground rules with all the team members is very important. Rather than giving autonomy or minimizing the frequency, we can, just because they are not punctual or not attending, we cannot minimize the frequency of in-person meetings, and we cannot let the team find their own solution. As a project manager, we should be driving.
All right, thank you. Francis, you have chosen option B.
I've chosen option B because I think this team is delivering everything on time. So regardless of the fact that they don't come on time, I think giving them autonomy, if as long as they keep working and be productive, I think that's why I chose B. It's like self-organized and the governed teams. That's where I came with that one.
All right, that's a great point. Like we should go for self-organization and servant leadership. But Francis, isn't it the best way, like you allow self-organization, and if the meeting is not important, they should not even schedule that meeting. So rather than missing a scheduled meeting, it's better not to schedule that. So if there is something, if meeting is scheduled, then you should show up. So if you should be the part of the meeting, but you frequently miss it, despite the fact you're delivering your deliverable on time, this is not the right way because it's a teamwork. It's not an individual's work. Francis, you understand?
Yes.
So yes, you should ensure self-organization. But yes, if it says like all the team members have decided like there won't be any meeting and they miss a meeting, that makes sense because it's whatever action they are taking is based on consensus, based on some decision. But here in this situation, what's happening, meetings have been scheduled and one of the team member frequently misses those meetings. So despite the fact they are delivering their own deliverable on time, they are not a good team player. So if they're not good team player, you have to do something. So you cannot just give autonomy just because their own deliverables are on time and according to the requirement. So it's not the individual work, it's the teamwork. So to ensure teamwork, you have to do something. So in that sense, option B is not correct. But yes, you're right. We go for self-organization and we allow the team to do things. But in this situation, option B doesn't work. Is it clear, Francis?
It is. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Robin, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I considered that the team is functioning well because they deliver in time, but there is a problem in that they're not attending meetings like they should. So it's a team solution, and they should find the solution between themselves.
All right. Thank you. So, Robin, it's not about the team. Our team is performing well. It says a team member completes their work on time and delivers the required deliverables. So it's one team member, right? So for example, we all are part of team and Robin is quite efficient. He delivers his work on time and according to requirement, but he joins meeting whenever he wants to, whenever he likes to. It may compromise the teamwork because as a project, you're not required just to deliver your own work. You're part of a team and you should cooperate with the team. So yes, if it says the team is performing well, it makes sense. But here, one team member is performing well and deliver the required deliverables. However, they're not punctual and they are supposed to be punctual. and frequently miss meetings. So in that sense, you need to do something. Robin, does it make sense? You understand?
Yes, it does.
So if one team member is doing great, it doesn't mean the team is performing well. So, and they are not punctual. They should be punctual, right? Punctual does not mean coming to office every day. Punctual means present whenever there is a requirement. So if you're not punctual means you're not there whenever you are needed. So if that is the situation, we cannot ignore that. So let the team find a solution can't be the right answer here because there is something wrong going on in the statement, and it is frequent. It's not just first time or it happens sometime, and frequently miss meetings. So you should intervene, right? You should do something. All right. Thank you for the explanation. Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
Yes, reinforcing ground rules is something as a this is something a very basic rule to say, because rest of the three options are, to me, it feels like escalating. A is simply reinforcing, means we're just defining the basic rules and telling people, or maybe requesting to follow those rules. That's it.
All right, absolutely. So whenever there is violation of norms and agreed protocols, it's the project manager's job to ensure ground rules. So correct answer is option A. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. All right, everybody, we are done with today's session. So this is for people who would be watching on YouTube, and especially for you as well. If you're not able to make any comment here, you can write your comment on YouTube under the video or the comment section, right? These comments would be really helpful, would be useful, because to continuously improve the quality of these session, your feedback is really, really important. And you can write whatever you like to write. So even if you want to provide constructive uh, critique, that is, welcome. So feel free to write whatever you want to write to me. Okay. Also, my next course is starting on June 15th. So people who are watching on YouTube, so it's a simple thing. Just contact the given number and my team would be sending you all the details. All right, so thank you so much. And I'm sorry, today I thought it would be a great session because I intentionally sat outside because the weather was nice and suddenly it started raining. So that's why we had some disruption. All right, thank you so much. I'll see you on Monday with an interesting lesson. Take care. Bye.
Um,
Bye.
man.